Hello, here it's Adam from Urigan's Insight, and welcome to another deck tech video. Please make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. But today we are here to do a deck tech on Superfriends. So this is a 4-color Superfriends deck that's focuses mainly on 3 colors, and then it's got a little bit of a splash on the 4th color just to add the extra planeswalker in. So what we're going to start off with is we are going to start off with our enchantments. So I have 4 sets of Oath of Nissa in this deck. Oath of Nissa is when this Oath of Nissa enters the battlefield, you may look at the top 3 cards of your library. You can reveal a creature, land, or planeswalker from among them, and then put it straight into your hand. So this is quite a good turn 1 play for 1 green mana, just so you can straight away find a planeswalker and try and influence the play a little bit. It gives you a bit of card draw. But Oath of Nissa's the main part is for its second ability is you may spend mana as though it was of any colour to cast planeswalker spells. That means your mana fixing is completed for this game. You will not need to worry about any colours at all. So if you've got 1 planeswalker for 4, as long as you've got 4 mana, it is perfect. So this is a really important part of our deck, and that is the 1 enchantment we're going to play in this deck. I know there's a few other oaths you could potentially play in this deck, Oath of Gideon, Oath of Ajani, but I've decided just to keep with Oath of Nissa. That way we got the opportunity to play more planeswalkers. But when we're playing our planeswalkers, we need to protect our planeswalkers as well. So it's really important that we have some creatures to help us. So what we're going to do, we're going to carry on and look at the defense. First of all, I've got 2 copies of the Heart of Kiran. It's a 4/4 for 2 mana, and it's got flying and vigilance. You can crew 3, or you can give up one of the planeswalker loyalty points to crew it. This is a great defender. Unfortunately, I've only put 2 in the deck because it is very susceptible to removal. You've got Fatal Push, you've got Unlicensed Disintegration, and when you know somebody's is there on the board, you know that someone's going to be able to use their removal to help it, so to get rid of it. So it's a good card. It could be very aggressive if you can get the right planeswalkers out very early. But, yeah, we've gone 2 copies of Heart of Kiran. Other creatures we've gone with is we have gone for 3 copies of the Servant of the Conduit. When it enters the battlefield, it gives you 2 energy. It's one green and 1 any colour. And you can pay 1 energy and tap for any colour. So this is, again, a mana fixer for our deck. It also allows us to ramp up a little bit. If you can potentially get this go 4, you could go into some of the 4 mana planeswalkers, which is really, really handy. So we've got 3 of those copies in the deck. We've got 2 Tireless Trackers in the deck. The reason I've got Tireless Tracker in this deck is whenever it lands, a land enters the battlefield, you can investigate. It's very good for card draw. When you sacrifice a clue, you can put a 1/1 counter on Tireless Tracker. For 3 mana, you could go potentially go 1 Oath of Nissa, go to Heart of Kiran, and then go 3 Tireless Tracker, whack that on the board, and then you can crew the Heart of Kiran. So maybe you can even swing for 4 damage, go 3. But other than that, it also gives you card draw just to help you later game file in those planeswalkers and have a defender on the field. And our last creature we have got 3 copies of Sylvan Advocate. It's a 2 mana vigilance 2/3. And as long as you control 6 or more lands, Sylvan Advocate gets, and other land creatures you control gets +2/+2. So this potentially turns into a 4/5 go 6. And it very complements with Nissa Vital Force because it gives lands +2/+2, which we'll talk about later. But there are creatures in our deck, there are defenders, they are protecting our planeswalkers, helping us out. We have now going to go into the planeswalkers. So in the planeswalkers, you have got quite a lot of planeswalkers in this deck, and the aim of the planeswalkers ultimately is to get their ultimate, their -7, their -8 ability, but the planeswalkers can also be used for aggression to kill your opponent quickly. So we're going to start off with the lowest mana planeswalker in my deck, which is Nissa, Voice of Zendikar. This is one I've just actually added in, but it's a 3 mana, 2 green and 1 colourless. So it starts with 3 loyalty, +1, put a 0/1 green plant token onto the battlefield. You can add extra blockers, just pile them up to protect our 4 mana, 5 mana, 6 mana planeswalkers. Its -2 is to put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. So this again can beef up our creatures, especially against green black. You'll be able to try and maybe block. You can block or trade against other creatures, or possibly even you might have to double block. But it gives us a bit more beef in the deck, and it gives us a few more blockers. It's also very good because go free, you can plonk this if you haven't got the Tireless Tracker on the Heart of Kiran, you can crew it, go free to swing. Then we go on to the 4 mana planeswalkers. I've got 4 mana, we've got Gideon, ally of Zendikar. So its +1 is to turn Gideon into a 5/5 human soldier until the end of the turn. It has indestructible, so it'll keep on swinging with a 5/5, forces your opponent to block. It's 0, which is normally what I do first of all, because obviously Gideon doesn't have haste, is to put a 2/2 White Knight ally token onto the battlefield. It's an extra blocker, and pair this up with Nissa, you can get 2 blockers a go to try and protect the field. And then its -4 is you get an emblem, all creatures get +1/+1. I tend not to use the emblem because I'd rather have Gideon on the field swinging, so I would try and stick with just Gideon attacking. But if you know you can swing in for lethal on the board and you've got more than 5 tokens on the field, then you might want to choose the emblem. Gideon's very complementary with Heart of Kiran as well, because you can +1 him and then crew 1 for the Heart of Kiran as well. Because he's got no massive ultimate, you can quite happily keep him on 4. Our next planeswalker, this is for board control now. So Gideon's more of a attacking planeswalker, and this is more of a defender. Our board control is Nahiri, the Harbinger. So it's +2, you may discard a card and draw a card. It's card draw. -2 is exile target enchantment, artifact, or tapped creature. Or -8, search for an artifact or creature card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. The +2 is very good. Card draw, you can filter out the cards you don't want. The -2 is pretty much creature removal if you can get rid of tapped creatures, and it's -8. The -8 I don't really use in this deck. I've been trying to think of a creature that might complement well with it. I could potentially put the Combustible Gearhulk for card draw in this deck, but that's something that could potentially be changed in this deck. You could actually use -8 to find Heart of Kiran, which could help because you can swing in for 4. This planeswalker it's quite good. It's only 4 mana, 1 white, 1 red, and 2 colourless. So it's pretty strong planeswalker on the list. So that's Nahiri. And another 4 mana planeswalker, and this is the only planeswalker that splashes blue in this deck, is Tamiyo, Field Researcher. +1, choose 2 target creatures. If it deals combat damage, draw a card. This is going to help you with your card draw, especially if you've got Sylvan Advocates out. -2. Tap up to 2 target non-land permanents. They don't untap during controller's next untap step. This is normally a killer for green-black, because even though they've got all the counters on the creatures, they are tap. You can just tap down and try. You've got to try and kill them a little bit quickly with the tap. And then its -7 is draw 3 cards. You get an emblem. You can cast non-land cards from your hand without paying their mana costs. This could get ridiculous in this deck, because you can start just playing Planeswalker after Planeswalker, and you can pretty much dump your hand and put the Planeswalkers on the field. So it's a very, very strong card. And then our last 4 mana Planeswalker is Chandra, Torch of Defiance. I've also got 2 of her. This is just like with the rest of the Planeswalkers in this deck. Every Planeswalker I put 2 copies of. This is just to keep with consistency, because the last thing you want is a Gideon in your hand and then a Gideon on the field, because you're not... you don't want to really be sacrificing Planeswalkers to put Planeswalkers on the board. She's got 4 abilities. She's 2 red and 2 colourless, and starts with 4 loyalty counters. +1 is exile the first +1 even is exile top card. You can play the card. If you don't, deal 2 damage to each opponent. This can be just a ticker. Keep her on 10 goes, and you can kill him. But obviously, if you'll probably have the -7 by that point. Another +1, add 2 red mana to your pool. If you've got Oath of Nissa out, go 5. You're guaranteed to play Planeswalkers. Any Planeswalker from the deck you're going to have the mana for. Basically, Ajani can be played, or it can be used to play other stuff or removal later on. It's -3, deal 4 damage to a target creature. And its -7 is whenever you cast a spell, this emblem will deal 5 damage to target creature or player. It's pretty much a game ender. You can. It's quite interesting. I was playing a green-black last night, and I used it. I didn't use it to destroy my opponent, whack him for life. I used it to wipe his board, just purely for the fact he would have killed me the next turn. So you kind of got to think your way through it. Can you deal the 20 damage this turn, or is it better to deal the 5 damage, deal it out to your creatures, and then kill them overall later on? Then we go into the 5 mana planeswalkers, which we have got one set of 5 mana planeswalkers in this deck, and that is Nissa Vital Force. It's +1, untap a land you control. It turns into a 5/5 elemental creature with haste this turn. It's still a land. So this is, again, aggression. You know, you can start whacking your opponent for 5. The only downside is you're risking your land. The great side to it is the lands can come 7/7s or even 9/9s, depending on how many Sylvan Advocates you can get on the field. It's -3. You can get a target permanent from the graveyard to your hand. That means you can pretty much choose a target planeswalker you want to bring back from your graveyard that might have died during the game and bring it back to the hand. And -6 is whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. This is quite good for late game. If you can keep Nissa on, if you know you can untap the next turn with Nissa, it might worth just be sacrificing a go of that land, just purely so you can get the card draw. So whenever you top deck, if you get a land, you're going to get another draw. If you get a Planeswalker, that's great. Then we go on to our 6 mana Planeswalkers, which is Chandra Chandra Flamecaller, sorry, which is 4 colourless and 2 red. You can put, it's +1, starts with 4 loyalty, put 2 3/1 elemental creatures on the battlefield with haste, exile them at the beginning of the end step. Again, this is just aggression. 0, discard all the cards in your hand, draw that many cards +1. This can be used for, well, card removal. You know, get rid of your hand if you haven't got a very good hand. I would only really do that if I knew Chandra would not die the next go, or it was literally, I know she's going to die, there's nothing else I can do on the board, let's try and wipe my hand so I can get some new cards, maybe remove the board and try and save her. And then it's -X is deal X amount of damage to each creature, so this is a good board wipe, especially against Rush. Then we've got our last Planeswalker, which is probably my favourite Planeswalker in the deck, is Ajani Unyielding. So it starts with 4 loyalty, it's 6 mana, 4 colourless, 1 green, 1 white. +2, reveal top 3 cards of your library, put all non-land permanents into your hand, the rest go in the bottom of your library. It's a Planeswalker filter, basically, which is really ridiculous. It's -2, exile target creature. Its controller gains life equal to its power. Now, normally you would do it against the opponent's creature, but I have been known against, like, burn decks. I was on 4 life. I knew I was going to die the next go, so I had to +1 Gideon. I can exile the Gideon to gain 5 life. So you can find interesting ways to, you know, help yourself out. And its -9 is put 5/1/1 loyalty 5 loyalty counters on 5/1/1 counters on each creature, and 5 loyalty counters on each other planeswalker you control. So this means that pretty much any planeswalker you play when Ajani ultimates, if you were to put on the field that particular go, you would ultimate. And to be honest, if it's on the board anyway, you are probably going to ultimate. The exception is if you -3 Chandra the go before. But to be honest, I don't think you'll be in that situation. I think if you're going to get this ultimate off, you are going to get more ultimates off, and it's going to be game over. So it's a very strong card and a very, very strong ultimate. But other than the planeswalkers and the creatures to protect the planeswalkers, we need some board removal in this deck. So we have got a good amount of board wipes just to try and keep the board down. You know, no creatures is a good situation in our deck. So to start off with, when I've gone to the removal, I have considered the meta. So I've gone for 7 pieces of removal. I've gone for 2 Fumigates, which is 2 planes, 3 colourless. Destroy all creatures. You gain 1 life for each creature you control this way. This is, you know, more of a end-game removal. This is just to completely wipe the board. I've gone for 1 Descent upon the Sinful. Exile all creatures. If you have Delirium, you get a 4/4 White Angel. Again, a very strong way to, you know, get rid of the board and give yourself a bit of an advantage. I've gone for 2 Radiant Flames. This is to help keep the board down early game, especially with green-black counters. If they go to the snake, you could probably get rid of the snake go to. And then I've gone for 2 Immolating Glares, which is destroy target attacking creature. This is more focused towards a Mardu vehicles match or a vehicles match in general, where you can just destroy the vehicle. Originally, I had Declaration Stone in this deck for that, but obviously you can't target the vehicles, which made it a very hard. So that's probably been one of the main changes recently. We then finally go on to the lands. So we have got 24 lands in this deck, I believe. Obviously, you've got a range of lands in this deck, which is there to help get the planeswalkers out, get the removal out. So we have got in our lands 1 Spirebluff Canal. Mainly there to help to get the Tamiyo out, just in case Oath of Nissa doesn't come out. 3 Evolving Worlds for mana fixing. Very good land finder. We got 1 Game Trail where you need to reveal a mountain or a forest. We've got 2 normal plains, 3 forests, 4 Aether Hubs, so you use the energy to tap for any colour. 4 mountains, 3 fortified village, so you need to reveal a plains or forest to put it on the field untapped. 1 Cinder Glade, comes in tap unless you control 2 or more basics. 1 island to use the Evolving Worlds to fetch for the island. And 1 Needle Spires, which can turn into a 2/1 double strike creature for 2 colourless, 1 red and 1 white. So that's our lands. We are going to quickly go onto the sideboard. In our sideboard, I've got to say with this deck, you've really got to consider your store and your meta in your store. If you know your store is not based towards like the top 8, then this might not be the sideboard for you. You might need to consider it, but you need to have a look at your store because this deck is very dependent on what you know everyone else is playing. So I've got another 2 Radiant Flames in the sideboard. This is more creature removal. A good matchup against to sideboard this in is probably going to be Mardu vehicles or anything that plays Rush, just so you can go free, wipe the board. I have got in the deck 2 Shocks. This is mainly good for Rush. I mainly use it for the Sahili Ray combo. Sahili Ray games, unless you get very lucky, you lose game 1. So your aim is to make sure you sideboard enough to win game 2 and game 3. I have got in the 2 Authority of the Consuls, very much for the same thing. It's a piece that can stop the Sahili Ray combo. And it can work against Rush as well. It can, you know, halt the game a little bit, slow the game down. 2 Oath of Chandras. I mainly use this for decks I know that are going to give me a bit of time to play a bit more Planeswalkers. So I can use it to, you know, deal damage over time. 2 Dovin Baans, which is you can do -3 and -0, and activated abilities can't be activated. This is quite good against people that are playing less creatures but could get potentially get bigger. You can gain life and draw cards, and you can stop your opponent tapping if you can get the ultimate off. So it's a good board stall if you need to stall the game a little bit. 2 Declaration Stones, quite good against Scrap Heap Scroungers, so it exiles the opponent's creature. Quite good for an extra bit of removal. I've got another Fumigate in the sideboard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Destroy all the creatures and earn an extra wipe. 1 Deploy the Gatewatch, which allows me to find 2. Look at the top 7, put 2 Planeswalkers. It's a good card. It's a card that's been in my main board before, but I've kind of over the times decided to put this in the sideboard just purely because I'm struggling with what to take out the deck. There's already 61 cards in the deck, and then I've got one to send upon the Sinful just to as an extra board wipe, especially against green black. This deck, that is the end of the deck tech video. I've got to say, this deck has served me well. It's developed over time. It used to be five colour Super Friends. It turns into 4 colours, 3 colours. So it's a deck that's had to take a lot of love. It's taken a lot of work to build. I've got to say, this last Sunday I went to the PPTQ with this deck and got to the semi-finals, came top of the Swiss. So I know this deck can work against the meta, and with the right plays, obviously you need a bit of luck with this deck and make sure you get the mana. But most decks, you know, if you're going to get there, you need a little bit of luck along the way. But it's one of my favourite decks to play. It's an entertaining deck. And hopefully, if someone else was to make this deck, they will have just as much fun with it as well. That's the end of the video. I'd like to say thank you very much for listening. Again, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and if you've got any comments about the deck, then please leave a comment below. I'd be very interested to hear other people's point of views. Maybe you've got an idea how you can improve this deck, and it'll be quite interesting to have a listen. That's it from me. I would like to say thank you very much, and I will see you at another time. Thank you very much. Bye.